Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. Hi. Hi. Hello. Wow, it's been so long since the last time I've seen you. You've grown. Your hair has grown out a bit more. That's cool. Good to see you. Oh, me? Yeah. I look a little bit rough for the wear, don't I? I'm not even gonna try and play up any kind of personality in this video. I don't even know if this is going to save because a lot of times that I've tried to go live before uh, didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. Shut the fuck up, stupid dryer. So loud. It's so loud. Anyway, and I'm too close. The phone is too close. Hi. Yeah, me, Theatric Dyspraxic, a guy that you have never heard of before, because even though I've had this channel for like 4 years, I don't think anyone has ever really watched more than one of my videos. Um, and I don't blame them. I would not recommend it. But here I am. I decided to do this update video, and I'm going to try and get through it relatively quickly and not ramble on too much as I have a tendency to do. I wanted to record this on my laptop, but as soon as I started, it said not enough space. My laptop really sucks. I got it at a pawn shop a couple of years ago, and I paid like maybe $100 for it, which is good for a laptop, but it's crappy. So I need to get a new one, but that's going to have to wait for a while. I've gained a lot of weight, and I will explain a little bit why. And but first, I'm going to explain where I am right now. And I'm sorry that I keep getting into shots where I'm up against the window and it shines. Ooh, the sunshine just shines right through. It's so weird because when you look outside, you don't, you see sunshine, but when it's on camera, it's like it just filters right in, and I never understood why that is. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to just kind of make an update video, and I have to do it live. So again, I have no idea if I'm going to be able to save this. And I don't care if anybody's watching it right now, and I don't care if anybody watches this video in general because I'm only making it so that I could share about what's happening. Because even though I've pretty much given up on this channel, I haven't really given up. I want to do some stuff with it eventually. But for now, I still feel an obligation to kind of share what's going on, but I won't spend too much time. Again, I always say I want to make sure the video doesn't run too long, but it always ends up doing that. And I end up rambling for like 20 minutes before I even get to my point because of that wonderful ADHD brain of mine. So, anyway, let's get to it. Yeah, I'm here house sitting for my aunt and uncle. Um, they are out of town for Thanksgiving. They left on Wednesday and are coming back later tonight. And I've been house sitting for them for while they're out. But there's another reason why I am here, which I will get into. But first, I have to ask myself when was the last time I did any kind of update? I on my podcast channel, the TD Podcast. Give me a subscribe. Shush, Tigger. Shush. I'm trying to do a video. I can't find out where he is. Oh, there he is. Tigger. All right, I'll let you out. Crazy cat. Go outside. Go outside. I'm conducting business here. Um, it's so nice to be able to be as loud as I want. La 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 la, sing all the time, sing all the time. Anyway, this is why these videos end up being too long. Um, I should probably stop just walking around, making everybody dizzy. I'll probably set this up against something eventually and just talk. I wanted to sit in front of my laptop and say all these things, but I can't because my stupid computer cannot record anything. So, first 5 minutes, I did not even say anything. So, let me get to the point. I believe the last time I spoke about what has gone on in my life was probably last year around summer. I think I was talking about I had some kind of job at a restaurant, and I went into too much detail talking about that. Um, it was like 2 hours or something. Like nobody, why would anybody care about that? Well, I was basically talking about my experience as a dyspraxic working in that kind of field. But since then, 2022, it's hard to believe 2022 is not still over, or is not still over, idiot. It's hard to believe that 2022 is not over yet, is what I'm trying to say. If I can actually figure out what words are. Shut the fuck up! Jesus, it's not even done. Um, God damn. Distractions, distractions, distractions. Um, 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 um. So yeah, where was I? 2022. So for me, 2022 has been kind of it's been a trip. It really has. I started journaling at the beginning of the year, and I had no expectations about what the year was going to bring, but I decided to start journaling it anyway. So I've chronicled my 2022 year. So I don't know if anybody would want me to read anything. I mean, I don't expect anybody to watch this video, especially this far in already. But if anybody wanted me to share some of the stuff that I wrote, feel free to let me know. But again, I don't expect anything. I don't, I'm talking to myself at this point. But yeah, I was working for a little while. I was working at Walmart again, doing the online grocery, and God, it's hard to it's hard to get into really, and I'm already starting to regret making this for a number of reasons. But 2022 has been kind of a shit show for me, and a big part of that is because there was this person in my life that I got really close to this year. This girl, of course. And it's hard to talk about one because I know, it's the oldest cliche in the book. Just maybe not cliche, but it's the, as a guy, just, your problems centering around women or a particular woman that you're hung up on and stuck up on or whatever. But this one did a number on me, and I'm not gonna paint myself as the victim or as just as the sole victim, because I made some mistakes as well. But basically, and again, I'm not at a point where I feel comfortable really divulging too much about it, because it's still kind of painful and it still feels fresh. But we developed somewhat of a romance, um, but it got really complicated, and I came to the conclusion based on after once everything ended, which the way it ended was kind of a shit show too. And I tried to do everything I could to work it out with this person, but she wasn't willing to have the conversation. She wasn't willing to communicate, and then I didn't realize until later that I actually worked with some people who knew her quite well and used to work with her, and they informed me that yeah, she had a tendency to take advantage of men and did this sort of thing frequently. And you know, things. I don't like to see myself as like a toxic person. At least I try not to be toxic, but I have my certain hangups and certain traumas that I've dealt with in my life, and certain abandonment issues, and on a bad night, it can affect things and it can affect relationships. And, you hope that you found a person that will, be understanding about it and supportive, you know. But you come to find that in reality, you know, they weren't the person that you thought that they were. Do you like my Akatsuki pants? Let me get in front of the door and block the light. Anywho, it was a rough time, and that all ended in June. About a month later, so we were talking like every day, every night. Um, uh, can't catch a break. We were talking like every day and every night, and then one day, back in June, beginning of June, she invited me to come to work with her, and she worked as a security guard at night. She did the night shift, and she said that on Saturdays it was really slow. Um, so she said I could come to work with her, and we could just spend most of the night in her car. I was like, okay. By this point, we weren't really like putting labels on what we had. It was clearly romantic by the way we were talking to each other and all that, but I think she didn't want to put labels on it. And it was weird because there were times where she was saying it was platonic, but it clearly wasn't. It was clearly something more than that. Um, I mean, again, this is a very complicated situation, so I could go into more detail about that, but I won't at this point because I'm trying to get to other things and just kind of sum this up. But that night, we ended up hooking up for the first time, or actually the only time. Um, and that was great, but again, everything was confusing. And then only a couple of days later, we had a big argument that basically destroyed our relationship. Um, she put all the blame on me, and I know that I do have part of the blame, but I do strongly believe that we both share the responsibility equally. Well, at least I thought that until I came to find that what she had with me, she had with others, and kind of used them, led them on, took advantage of them for the attention, I presume. Um, she has a very active TikTok account where she posts tons of self-indulgent kind of things, things that kind of show. I mean, just by looking at it, you can tell she was a narcissist and a covert narcissist. As someone that's able to kind of hide that a bit. They're usually more cunning and able to convince people that they're not a narcissist. But once you start to learn more about what a covert narcissist was, I realized that she definitely was. And um, she was a user. She took advantage of me. She took advantage of others. And yeah, so about a month later, um, oh yeah, she was always dishonest with me too. Um, I remember a particular night I went out walking. It was getting dark, and there was this restaurant called the Pint and Barrel that I used to go to, and I was just outside of that restaurant, and across the street, I see who I think is her. I'm pretty sure is her. I'm a little bit nearsighted, so seeing someone across the street, I can kind of make them out, but I have to be a little bit closer to really fully see the face. And she was standing next to a guy, this like really tall, dark, skinny guy, with dark, short, wavy hair, and was like, fine. We're not dating, like we're not a couple, so like she can have other male friends. Um, but when I asked her about it, I said, I think I saw you. You were with a guy, and she was like, "Oh no, I was with my sister." Yeah, and it didn't really make any sense because her sister is big. She's overweight. She's blonde, very pale. long curly hair, blonde hair, like looked nothing like the person that I saw. So she had me doubting myself and my own eyes, and had me believing that somehow I had morphed her sister into looking like some tall, dark guy. Um, and I tried to walk out after that, but that didn't. She ended up convincing me to come back, and we developed this really strong whirlwind kind of romance, that just became too complicated. And then finally, you know what? After this, I'm going to stop this recording, and I'm going to continue into another one, I guess. I don't know. Probably not. I'm just going to try and just get through it. That July, a month after everything went down between me and her, I was at work and I was on my lunch break. And it was the first time that I saw her since everything happened. The last time I saw her, we were kissing in her car. And then, she suddenly hated me. She was posting TikToks where she said she wanted me to die. Like I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why she was so hostile against me. Why all of a sudden she just hated me. Like she loved me and said that I was the most important person in her life. I was the light of her life. And then all of a sudden she wants me dead and just acts like nothing ever happened. Um, and I wanted to talk to her. I really wanted to work things out. And if I couldn't work things out, I wanted closure, which is the folly of every man when it comes to women. And I she was in the store with her sister, and I approached her on my lunch break, and I just said, "I'm sorry for everything, and I hate the way things happened. I wish that we could have worked it out, but I'm sorry for anything I did." And she immediately got ballistic. Like she got really hostile. She started screaming in the store, saying, "Don't fucking talk to me." And she pulled out a taser and she threatened to tase me. She said, "Do you want to get tased?" And I was like, I wasn't even near her. I was just kind of like, I was a few feet away. I was, maybe like 6 to 8 feet away. I was keeping my distance. Um, I said, you know, I don't understand why you can't talk about it. I don't understand why you're threatening violence against me. And she said, I don't want to talk to you. And I said, I mean, don't you care about like the history we had, the experiences? Like, we could have worked it out. And she's like, I don't care. Go away. Leave me alone. So I started walking away and I said, one of these days you're going to realize that you have a share in the blame. And she just laughed and said, no. So I thought that was the end of it. But then she went to one of the managers and claimed that I was stalking her, that I was harassing her, and claimed that I hit her even. Um, Luckily, the management remembered when she worked there, and they didn't believe her. I overheard my managers like talking about it. They didn't even talk about it with me. They just said, I just heard them say, "Yeah, she's done this sort of thing before. Last time she was with the same person," and I don't know. It was very strange. And in the months since, um, it's just been really tough for me because this person was very special to me, and now they hate my guts and wish I was dead. Um, and in fact, this this ultimately is probably the main catalyst that led to me deciding to move. Um, I was supposed to move in with a friend of mine, but that fell through. I'm not even going to go into the details of that at this point, because it's, again, everything is complicated. Everything is, a freaking travesty, a train wreck, one train wreck after another. So anyway, now that leads to my current situation. After everything that happened with this girl, and I wanted to leave that town for a long time. I never wanted to go back to that town, but unfortunately, I had no choice. And at the time, because of the pandemic and all that nonsense that I went through because of that, luckily with this job, I was making enough money. I didn't have to pay rent because I was living with my parents, and I ended up saving about $10,000, which is cool. $10,000 won't get you as far as it used to, um, but I was still lucky to have that. It was a good, it was enough to make a start. Although I did go see a friend of mine out in LA during that time. So I spent about $1,000 just on that, which I didn't mean to, but that just, when you go to LA, that's just what ends up happening. You spend a lot more money than you wanted to. But I still had about 9 grand coming back, and so anyway, that is suffice to say. Um, yeah, I was supposed to move in with my friend, and that fell through. And she wanted me to move to San Marcos in Texas, close to Austin. She said that she used to live in San Marcos, and she said it was like the best time of her life. She said she met like her favorite people in San Marcos, and she strongly believed that it was my kind of town with my kind of people. So I was like, well, that sounds good. That sounds like the fresh start that I need. Because I wanted to get, because living in the same town with this girl was driving me crazy. The fact that I couldn't fix things, that I couldn't talk to her, because I didn't want to be a stalker. I wanted to be, um, I eventually cut her loose. You know, every now and then I had sent her an email saying, I still wish we could work things out. But yeah, but it turned into an ugly thing, and it didn't need to, but it did. Um, and now we're estranged, and I don't know. It's still rough for me, but I wanted to move, and I wanted to, you know, kind of just start new. So I moved to San Marcos. I found a listing on Facebook. Somebody was giving up their lease. They were trying to find someone to take over their lease at this one apartment complex. It was, since San Marcos is like it's like a university town. There's a lot of college kids, and this building is on the square right across from the university. So a lot of the apartments in that area are student housing. So my apartment is mainly student housing too, but none of my so basically I was going to be renting a room and sharing, I was going to have my own lease for my own room, but it was going to be like I was going to be sharing an apartment with 3 other people. And I was like, well, okay. I wanted to have hope. That's the thing. I it's so easy for me to give into despair because my life has just been one train wreck after another, and it seems like nothing ever works out for me. Every time I make an attempt to do anything, I fail, or people reject me outright. And it still happens. I can never seem to catch a break, but I wanted so hard, because I started to believe that maybe it was my outlook. Maybe I was manifesting these things because I have a poor outlook and I expect things to fail. I don't expect I try not to expect things to fail. But when I start to have hope, it, I'm always disappointed every time, every time. Nothing ever works out the way I want it to. It didn't work out with my friend, with me moving in with her. That fell through. But I thought, okay, I can make my own way to San Marcos, and then I could start my new life, and, you know, everything might be good. So when I got to San Marcos, I met my roommates, and they were all maybe in their early 20s or so. There's one guy who I think is closer to my age. Um, and I came to find quickly that, so it was like 2 guys and a girl. the girl was like Colombian or something. And she was nice to me like the first day. I mean, she's usually pretty cordial, I guess, kind of nice, but she doesn't. They never really spoke to me, and any when I would try to like converse with them, they just kind of seemed awkward and distant, and like it became very clear to me early on that these were not going to be my people. They were kind of, what's the word? I mean, they're kind of trashy. They're kind of ghetto, people that I used to have friends like that back when I lived in a nearby town called Seguin. And anywho, then something happened less than a week after I moved in. So this is like the main thing that I'm dealing with now. I was just in the apartment again. The first few days, it was like, man, I'm really not like making an impression on these people, and it was kind of like when you live with people that they don't really like you, or they don't really interact with you, you don't click. It's sad. And it becomes uncomfortable and becomes awkward to live there because you're sharing this space with these people, but you kind of feel like you have to be confined to your room. And that afternoon, less than a week after moving in, I was watching a movie in my room. I was watching the Weird Al Yankovic movie, the new one with Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al, and I started hearing this banging at the door, at the front door, and it was like very aggressive banging, and I was like, "What's the deal is with that?" And I thought maybe one of my roommates got locked out, so I started heading up to the front door to. I was approaching the front door to see what it was, and all of a sudden, the door bursts open. Maybe 5 or 6 police officers, just come right in. Immediately, guns are drawn, pointed at me. Um, yeah, they're pointing their guns at me. Some of them are pointing tasers at me, and they're screaming at me, "Get your hands up! Get your hands up!" And I was like, Jesus. And then they grabbed me, they threw me out in the hallway, they shoved me up against the wall, and then they slapped handcuffs on me. And I was like, and they were treating me like I was some kind of criminal. I didn't know what the deal was. In fact, I started thinking like, did that girl from my old town, did she call the cops and like, I don't know, like, was she saying I did some horrible thing to her, like another kind of lie, and I'm being, arrested for something like that? But then I found on on their uniforms, it said narcotics. And I thought, okay, this definitely has nothing to do with me, because I take the Delta 8 gummies, but those, I mean, you find those. I mean, there's tons of vape shops all over San Marcos. Obviously, I mean, they're not going to bust me for that. That's legal. Um, turns out, at least one of my roommates is a drug dealer, like a major drug dealer. They searched all of our rooms. They And when they searched his room, they pulled out big bags of cocaine, pills, needles, stacks of money. Um, they, yeah, big bags of weed. You know, just a whole collection of drug dealer, memorabilia, whatever. The drug dealer set, you know. Yeah, the selection for premium drug dealer kit. Um, you know what I mean? And my female roommate, she was in the shower at the time, so she just had nothing on but a towel. They didn't handcuff her, thankfully, but they had her out in the hallway just in nothing but a towel, while I was standing there with my handcuffed, looking like some kind of, you know, like somebody who's like, I was caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Um, anyhow, I started. Yeah, once they finished searching the place, they sat us down. They had grabbed, they had found the other two guys walking and brought them back to the apartment. They let me and the girl go. They questioned the two guys and then they arrested them. I didn't see that part because I walked out. I was like, because I hadn't eaten that day and I needed to get some food. And then after that, when I came back to the apartment, they were gone, and that was it for the next couple of days. It was just me and this girl, which sounds like paradise, but it wasn't. No, I mean she was okay, but I mean we didn't interact much. And then like a couple of days later, those two guys came back. I guess they were released on bail. And while this is going on, I told my uncle and aunt, they live nearby in a nearby town. They're the closest family that I have living near me. And yeah, they told me that they were going to try and do something about this. And they knew somebody who worked at the local library who was getting information. Apparently, she actually knew the guy. She actually sent me a message like the day after it happened and said, "Hey, I just found out that this guy is living in your building. You might want to be careful, because." And I said, "That's going to be difficult because he's my roommate." She's like, "Oh no." So I asked the people at the front office. I asked if they were going to, I guess what the plan of action was. They said they were going to evict this guy. This happened a few weeks ago. Nothing has happened yet. The guy is still living there right now. And not only that, but he has like almost every night, he and the other guy, they have like these big parties. They bring in all sorts of seedy looking people, people with like neck tattoos and just like people who just look like their clientele, drug addicts and all that kind of stuff. And they party until like 4 in the morning and they trash the place. And I wake up and I come into the room. Oh yeah, so at one point I told my uncle, I said, I don't feel safe here because they were having this big party. They actually let me stay here for a couple of days. And when I came back to the apartment, there was a stripper pole up. They had installed a stripper pole and like the floor was all scratched up, like somebody had heels on. Um, and ever since then, almost every night, it's like they just drink and smoke pot in the apartment. They just trash the whole place. Once I came in and I found vomit in the sink. Somebody had, I guess, puked in the sink and didn't clean it up. The floor is just dirty as hell. And I live, this is the top floor. It's a 7-story building. This is a top floor. And I'm like in the back. My room is like in the back. So like there's no place for me to escape if something happens. So it's been a difficult kind of experience. And I keep asking myself, am I the problem? Did I get myself into this situation? Do I have a right to be upset about it? Do I have a right to feel unsafe? I do. But I still almost feel like lame and pathetic for being scared, for being uncomfortable, you know. But I just moved to San Marcos, and this is my first impression of it. Um, I've gone out to some of the bars at night. It's just a bunch of college kids. Everybody looks and acts the same. Every guy's douchey, every girl's ditzy. I went one night. This girl there. I was walking down the street. I had taken like part of an edible, so I was just a little bit baked. And I was walking down the street, and of course this was like late at night, so everybody was drunk, everybody was wasted, staggering around. These two girls behind me asked me, "Do you want to go to Connoisseurs with us?" Which is like this vape shop. I was like, "Okay." So I went with these girls, and immediately, like one of them, this blonde girl, was like, "You're my new best friend," and she was like hugging on me, and I'm like, "All right," you know. Obviously, I'm just kind of like having fun. I have no intentions because again, this girl's obviously really drunk. I'm not going to take advantage of her. I'm not that kind of guy. But it's still kind of like nice having kind of this kind of interaction because it's like, you know, this sort of thing is just kind of like an interesting experience, like being invited by some random people to go do something. It's that kind of thing that's like that thing you stumble upon along the way. That's kind of I don't know, it's kind of funny. And we got along. Like we started talking. We were talking about how we have artistic families, and we were both into the arts. She was really into dancing. She started like pirouetting in the middle of the store. And then her friend got like really fixated on this pipe that looked like a potato. And she's like, it looks like a potato. And everything was like good. Like we were, chatting with the people who worked there. And she and I were like, me and the blonde girl were chatting. Like everything seemed fine. And then we left. And at that point, I didn't know I was wondering what should I do now, because I don't know where they're going. I don't know if they still want me to come with them. So I just innocently asked, I said, like, so am I still coming with you guys? And the one of the girls was like, back to our house? No. And I was like, no, I didn't mean that. And they're like, bye. And they just like started walking off. So it was like this really weird thing where it's like suddenly I'm treated as like some kind of creep or something, which is nothing new. That's kind of the nature of being a man, in the 21st century is everybody doubts your intentions. Everybody thinks you have impure intentions. Everybody is suspicious of you. Nobody trusts anybody. And there's reasons for that. I completely understand why that is. But as a man who's just like trying to get by, or just as a person who's trying to get by, and dealing with a difficult situation, and you're trying to make friends, you don't know anybody. I did thankfully reconnect with somebody, a friend of mine from, I mean, we were never that close, but we might be better friends now. I don't know. But they live in San Marcos. There were her parents are friends with my parents and really good friends with my aunt and uncle. So anyway, I'm gonna kind of start to wrap it up, but I just wanted to kind of give an update on things that have happened in the past few weeks and the past few months. Just kind of an overview. If you just want to skip through where I recap, yeah, basically, you know, I had my heart broken by this girl that I was seriously, seriously in love with. Um, Probably more than I've ever been in love with anybody in my life. And she hurt me really bad, and I was trying to get over it, but I just felt like I needed to get out of the town. My parents had moved to a different house that was a lot smaller. Um, so I made this kind of like rash decision to move to San Marcos, hoping for something better. And so far, it hasn't quite worked out, um, obviously. And I don't know what I can do. We're trying to see, are they going to evict this guy? What about these other people that are living there throwing these parties? Is there any way that I can get out of my lease? I don't know. I might be trying to see if somebody can take over the lease and seeing if I could find another place. I still don't even have a job. I'm just living off of my savings at this point. And yeah, so it's been rough. Sorry again that this video is so long. Um, I it, Time just flies when you start making these videos. Like you don't even realize that you're rambling until it's like 40 minutes and you've barely gotten to your point. But I hope you've enjoyed if you've watched through to the end. I hope you've somewhat enjoyed watching me just talk about again how shitty my life is. I hate to be that guy. I really hate to be that guy. I don't like being depressing. I don't like being a bummer. But goddamn, how much shit can you deal with before you just, want to take a bullet to your head? Like seriously, I'm not trying to say that, you know, I have it the worst or that everybody has it better than me. Everybody's going through something. But there are certain, some people just, it piles on again and again before you even have time to process one thing, it's another. And it's like every time you try to have hope, it gets squashed. I didn't even talk about, they don't have a community theater in San Marcos, but they have this independent kind of thing. And I auditioned for this play that they were doing. I thought I killed at the audition. I went to both nights and I read for every part. Um, and I thought I did really well. In fact, I was certain that I was going to get cast in a role. I didn't know which role, but everybody seemed to like me. Everybody seemed to think I read very well. And then the other day, you know, come to find that I haven't been cast, which I don't even understand that because I didn't even think there was enough guys that tried out for it to fill every male role. And I feel like I have to be the only guy who went to those auditions who didn't get cast. And I don't know why that is because I have a lot of experience acting. I know that I have talent, and I'm not saying the other people didn't, but it's like, what did I do wrong? What did I lack? And most of all, why did I feel like so sure of it and so confident only for me to be wrong? Like, was I wrong to feel that way, to feel good about myself and to feel confident? I have no idea. But that's going to be the end of it. I'm going to try and do more things with the podcast and other things as I try to sort my life out. But, it's getting harder and harder to have any kind of hope for anything good to happen. But I don't know. So I'm sorry for once again being depressing because I really wanted to change that. I really wanted to have hope and be an optimist. And I did. I really believed that things were going to get better in San Marcos and that some good things were going to happen. I really believed I was going to get this role or I was going to get cast in a role. And I really believed that I was going to find some good. I mean, again, it hasn't even been a month since I moved. So it's too soon to say that it was a bad decision. But I'm feeling like my friend was wrong, you know, that San Marcos is not the place for me. And I'm stuck in this lease until July. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why I can't catch a break. I don't know why nothing ever works out for me. I try to be a good person. I try to be the best person I can be. But God, it's so hard. It's hard. I'm trying. That's all we can do is try. I've been through too much in my life. People don't understand that. They don't understand how rough I've had it. And they blame me for all my problems. And yeah, I know a lot of it is me. A lot of it, I can make better decisions and I'm trying to improve the negative aspects of myself. But, these circumstances I find myself in and things that I find myself caught in the middle of, I don't choose that. I don't know if there's an energy I give off. I don't know if there's some kind of karma, something I did horribly wrong that just everything has to go wrong for me. Still working on the book. Still, I'm making plans with the podcast, Pondcast. I am talking to other dyspraxics to talk about having them on the podcast, and also to do live streams on Instagram. So if you would like to be on that or whatever, feel free to let me know. But apart from that, thank you for watching. God damn it, fucking charger has to unplug for some reason. All right. Okay, on that note, bye. This has been a waste of time. But I wanted to do the update before I went back to San Marcos because I would not feel comfortable being in my room talking about, how I was caught in the middle of a drug raid and my roommates are drug dealers and stuff like that. They're gonna hear about, I don't want them to hear about me talking about that and telling the whole world, broadcasting it. Um, so if I die, you know, that's probably why. All right. Take care. Enjoy yourself. And I hope that you have better luck than I do in all your endeavors.